Hello, everybody. My name is Blaze, and welcome back to year 2 of Lostclan. I'm so sorry it took me this long to get this finally posted. This is almost 2 years in the making. I have to get better at time management and not letting real life affect me burnout wise. Before we get into it too deep, I just really want to thank you guys for all of the support and love this series has gotten. Literally, you guys got my last video to 10k views. What? Thank you. If you haven't seen the first part, I would recommend you watching it since this is a continuation. Up in I think it's the left, there'll be a card with the first video. So if you haven't seen that, click on that. But besides that, let's get into my silly little cats. Unfortunately, starting with the bad news in Starclan. Sadly, the first one in Starclan this year is the 33-moon-old Crooked Poppy. He died the same moon that his second litter of kids became apprentices. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to see any of his kids become warriors, but I think he was at their ceremonies in spirit. He died when he got infected by a strange illness. I like to think that Mary Goldnut brought him out of quarantine to the edge of the clearing so he could watch his kids' apprentice ceremony. And then after that, the same night, he peacefully passed with a slight smile on his face. His death makes me so sad because he was just such a good dad and he loved his clanmates, his kids, and his mate above everyone else. After his death, he had constant statuses of watching his kids and even his mate Dark Heather. Even though he is not with them, he is still proud of every single one of them. He's also really wanted to give a life to a new leader, which I don't get what that's all about. I am just so sad that Crooked Dark is over, and especially as soon as it is. But unfortunately, moving on to the next cat. Sadly, we have the 25-moon-old Marigold Nut. Not only was he your guys' favorite, but he was also one of my favorites. He joined the clan as our youngest clan founder, only being a kid at the time. He also died from that mysterious illness, but he neglected his own needs trying to take care of Crooked Poppy and put on a brave face so everyone didn't even know he was sick. He passed the same moon as Crooked Poppy in game. It was actually a time skip event, so lore-wise, I'm saying he died a week after Crooked Poppy to the surprise of everybody in the clan. Copper Blossom, who was completely blindsided by his death, is taking it the hardest, but we'll get into that later. But Marigold Nut's last status was he wants to warn Branch Knight, and that has me concerned for her. Like, what are you trying to tell us, baby boy? Next up, we have a new face, which makes this even more sad. So now we have 64-moon-old insecure Golden Cloud. He was a loner who was found on a patrol by Mudstar and Timberbreeze, and after telling him he was trespassing on their territory and he needed to leave immediately, he just straight up asked if he could live with them. Mudstar, looking at her mate, reluctantly agreed, having some things to talk about with Timberbreeze alone. They told Golden Cloud to stay in the area and then they would find them after the walk. Once they finished this walk, they came back to the spot and he was nowhere to be seen. After waiting all day, Timberbreeze went looking for him. She unfortunately found his body laying under a tree as he desperately tried to cool off. He died of heat stroke, and both Mudstar and Timberbreeze felt awful. They accidentally neglected this cat, and it led to his death. So they honored him with a burial among their clanmates. When he joined the game, I sent him on a solo patrol in accident, and he instantly died. So I feel bad. That's my bad. It's time to move on to the currently alive clanmates. Starting with Mudstar, who somehow still has all 9 of her lives. When I recoded them into the game, I looked back at all of my footage and notes, and she has not lost a life, which is crazy because this woman likes to confront dogs. I drew her here with her mate Timberbreeze, but Mudstar, this girl, she's going through it right now. She constantly thinks she's going crazy and is often letting her deputy Heifer take over and call the shots. Mudstar seems to really want to visit Marigold Nut and Crooked Poppy and Starclan, which makes me think that they're not communicating with her for some reason, which is also why I brought up that Crooked Poppy wants to give a life to a new leader, because that just kind of clicked. She also has no trust for Hairblade. Her dislike bar on him is in the red. She hates him. But besides that, she's been finding comfort in her mate until her daughter came along and these two had kitty marital problems. Timberbreeze has always wanted a family and Mudstar was happy just how things were between her and Timberbreeze. So when Timberbreeze brought home a kit and exclaimed that she was adopting her and that the two of them were going to be mothers, Mudstar was not happy. It's not that she didn't want a family, she just would have liked Timberbreeze to have asked her about it and allowed them to talk about it. It wasn't until Model Shadow's warrior ceremony where the two actually began to patch these up. Mudstar disliked Model Shadow for the first 11 moons of her life. Mudstar shared about how she felt overshadowed and just wanted to be part of the decision. Timberbreeze also apologized for not including her, as it was a huge life-changing event, and she shouldn't have made that without Mudstar. And with this, I'm happy to announce these two are expecting kids! They talked about it, and Mudstar knows she can't make up for how she treated Model Shadow as a kit. She really wants to try and prove to Timberbreeze that she loves her and she'll do anything for her. So they found a donor who's on screen right here. Isn't he handsome? I didn't choose him, the game did. But yeah, Mudstar is pregnant, and she currently isn't in the nursery because they announced their pregnancy on the last moon of this year. I'm just so excited for these two. I can't wait for the Mudbreeze babies. With that, I'll move on to Timberbreeze herself. I mentioned earlier that Timberbreeze adopted a kit. Even though she hated how neglectful Mudstar had been to the two of them, being a mother was Timberbreeze's calling. Her entire life, she always felt something was missing, and now having Model Shadow, that just filled her void. Timberbreeze has spent most of her time in the nurseries, barely spending any nights in the Elder's Den. She loves kids, and being around them makes her feel useful. When her and Mudstar discussed getting a donor, Timberbreeze wanted to be the one to carry the kids, but due to her age, Mudstar suggested that she herself should do it, even though it's something that Mudstar never even wanted to do, but she'd do it for her. It took a little convincing, but Mudstar brought up the point that if anything went wrong, Mudstar has more than one life. And that was it. That sold Timberbreeze. With that little bit of convincing, Timberbreeze agreed. But other than her being excited for the kits on the way, she's been spending a lot of time with Model Shadow, and more concerningly, she wishes she had died instead of Marigold Nut and Crooked Poppy. I think she feels guilty that two younger cats died, but Model Shadow is constantly trying to make her mom feel better, but I think Timberbreeze is having some guilt she has to deal with. And this guilt is making her drift away from her eldest daughter. Next up, we have the clan's deputy. It's still the lovely Half-Fur. And boy oh boy, this past year for her was so rough. She was having constant statuses of being stressed and having hard days. She even had, on 3 separate occasions, the status of rethinking her life choices. I feel so bad for her because not only did she have to deal with Mudstar putting this extra pressure and all these extra responsibilities on her, she also has a anti-Half-Fur campaign spreading around the clan. People are demanding Mudstar chooses a new deputy. They feel that Half-Fur is neglecting her duties. Every time that she would get a status in game that she was trying to prove herself, she would always fail the hunt. Truly thinking about retirement, especially because some of the rumors are true, but we'll get into that later. On a more pleasant note, she spent the rest of the year with her apprentice Strikeback, who she saved from being trapped in some brambles, which was always nice. But unfortunately, what really got her was a gang of rogues confronted the patrol. Half-Fur, realizing that they were outnumbered, decided to take Strikepaw and run, but the other cats on the patrol with her judged her so hard for this decision. I just want everyone to be nice to her, and I personally would like a half-star someday, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. We are now on to our medicine cat. Oh, poor Copper Blossom. This year was rough on him. He spent most of his time in the medicine den, whether it was organizing herbs or grooming himself. He did end up getting another apprentice, which for the very first few moons of his apprenticeship was very neglectful, and then he decided it was time to move on and accept the fact that life keeps going. He was given a prophecy by Dark Whisker, but later in the year he got the status of interpreting an omen, so I'm taking that as the prophecy was not really a prophecy, it was a warning, and then the omen came. The omen was a vision of a dark cat looking at two kits from the shadows. But after that, Copper Blossom also tried convincing Branch Knight to run away with him, which is very concerning considering Marigold Nut was trying to warn her, so I don't know what's happening with her. Other than that, Copper Blossom seems to be doing better, so hopefully he's okay. Next up, we're on to the 13-moon-old Sandy Pelt. He is our newest medicine cat, and he is empathetic and extremely smart. On Moon 23, Mudstar approached the three Bristlespot's children and asked them if one of them would be willing to step up for their clan and become a medicine cat. At first, all three of them were very hesitant to it, and then she explained that it wasn't just for the clan, it was to help Copper Blossom and help him snap out of his depression. Finally, after no biters, Sandy Pelt stepped forward and said that he would gladly take the job. The next moon, he became a medicine cat apprentice to Copper Blossom. He is almost a Marigold Nut clone. He is goofy, he is silly. It's fitting because I have made it canon that Marigold Nut is his father. Copper Blossom was very hesitant to get to know the cat. He didn't want to become friends with him after what happened to Marigold Nut. So he was very standoffish and wanted to just be left alone, and was very mad at Mudstar for a while for giving him an apprentice before he was ready. But then Copper Blossom went to check the herb stores one day and noticed that all of the marigold was gone. And when he turned around to go fetch some more, saddened by the reminder that his friend was gone, Sandy Pelt had a fresh bundle in his mouth. And that's when it really dawned on Copper Blossom that he couldn't blame this young cat for the death of his previous friend. So now they're good friends. Sandy Pelt's doing great. He seems to be thriving in the role of medicine cat. Next up, we have another new face to the clan. Meet Jessica. She is 119 moons. She's formerly a loner. She's also very patient. She was invited to join the clans by Hairblade on Moon 21. It took a while for Jessica to adjust to clan life after being on her own for so long. There were days that she complained about being too lazy to patrol. She fell into a creek and was damp for a few days. She was constantly staring off into space, but over time she slowly grew and adapted to clan life. One moon, Jessica came back with a surprise, bringing back her litter of 2 kittens, refusing to talk about where they came from. And the next moon, Jessica brings home a kitty pet named Toke, who looks shockingly like these kits she just brought home. Yes, Toke and Jessica are mates. Yes, they're lesbians, and these are their babies. I will not take any question. But now, yeah, the both of them doing great. The clan, they have a great family. Jessica is an excellent warrior and even lined up to get an apprentice next moon. Here we have, obviously as I mentioned, Jessica's mate, Toke. She is 88 moons old, formerly a kitty pet, and she is very responsible. There's not a lot to say about Toke since she joined the clan pretty much right before the year ended. She joined the clan already, like, feeling a sense of dread. She was nervous. Her first patrol, they were almost killed by a fox, but they ended up driving it away. She had also fallen in the river that Jessica fell into. But other than that, she loves being a mom. She's a great mom to her kids. She helps the medicine cats gather herbs a lot. She found an abandoned kit. Unfortunately, it passed away. But after that, she's been thinking about kits. So I wonder if Jessica and Toke are going to have another litter in the future. But yeah, she's really pretty. I love myself a little calico moment. Next up, we have another set of mates who are both new faces. First up, we'll talk about Marshly, who joined the clan as a former kitty pet named Luna, who decided to take a more clan-like name. So she went with Marshly. She is 44 moons old, formerly a kitty pet, and very careful. Immediately, again, what's with these kitty pets joining and then immediately rethinking their life choices? But right after she joined, another kitty pet joined named Blufftail. He joined with his kits, and then I think it was 3-4 moons later, she had a litter of kits. So I bit the bullet. I made them mates. Their interactions just made it make sense, and I don't regret it. These two are adorable. There's not really that much to say about them. because they're both fairly new, but I can't wait to see what the game holds for them. But I'll quickly go into a rundown of Blufftail. He's 87 moons, he's formerly a kitty pet, he's nervous, but when he joined the clan, he fit in right away. His first moon, he was looking around with wonder, then he was guarding the camp entrance. Him and his kids just fit in right away. He left his home to be with his mate and found an even better home, if that makes sense. He admires Mudstar. She is constantly catching his eye. He thinks that she's a great leader. He is constantly on patrol suggesting to it'd be a good time for the patrols to practice their skills, growing stronger relationships with his clanmates, and stronger skills. I don't think he's failed a single patrol that he's been on so far, but I'm excited for him. And as I said, he's already got 2 litters of kits with his mate, and I wouldn't be lying if I said I can't wait for more. Next up, we've got a familiar face. We have Dark Heather. He is now 48 moons old. He's a great teacher, altruistic, same old, same old. So the first half of his year was great. He was spending time with Crooked Poppy. He was constantly thinking about love. They had a second litter of kit. And then it goes downhill when Crooked Poppy passed away. Dark Heather really blamed himself, even though there was nothing to blame himself for. He got super protective of his children. Anytime he was out on patrol with them or heard about them doing dangerous things, not only would he lecture his kids, he would lecture their mentors. He was so concerned he could not go through that loss again. He is still super protective, but now that all of his kids are grown up, can take care of themselves, thinking about love and thinking about kids themselves, he's starting to cool off and realize that he can't be an overprotective father forever, and they've got to leave the nest sometime. But this man is thinking about kids again, and I'm like, is this just because you are an empty nester? Are you thinking about grandkids? Are you thinking about having another litter by yourself? I don't know. He is a mystery and apparently loves to be a dad. Next up, we have my girl Fawnfur. She's responsible and a good speaker. She was ecstatic when she got to mentor Dark Heather's daughter, Sleek. This girl, editors know, I realized I wrote Fawnfur's age wrong while editing this, so I'll fix it in the last drawing. Bye! She has major deputy goals, which has her spreading rumors, unfortunately, about Half-Fur, which is crazy because she has a crush on Half-Fur. So I don't know if it's just a jealousy thing or if it's a genuine I don't think you're good enough thing. Even then, she shouldn't be spreading rumors. But besides that, she gained 2 scars from fighting Swamp Clan warriors this year, which we'll get into the other clans either at the end of this video or I'll make a quick video about them next. And she, despite having deputy goals, she also thinks she's part of a new prophecy. I think this girl just thinks she's the main character. Even if Half-Fur were to step down, I don't think Mudstar would choose her as deputy. She's too goofy. Now, we're moving on to the Dark Heather and Crooked Poppy babies. So first up, we've got Sleek Skip. Love her warrior name. She was apprenticed under Fawnfur. She spent most of her apprenticeship working hard. Her first ever outing with Fawnfur, the first thing she did was catch a rat and bring home a bunch of fresh kill. Cute thing she did after she got her warrior name is that she was watching the shooting stars with Jessica. I thought that was adorable because that was the moon right before Jessica invited her mate to join, so I assumed that Jessica came up to Sleek Skip for some advice, and Sleek Skip said, "You only live once." But yeah, this cat, she has deputy goals, she works hard. She was the one that invited Blufftail to join the clan, which was surprising because I didn't think that she'd be the type to invite an out-clanner, but yeah, she hasn't done much. She's only just under 2 years old, so well, I hope the game is nice to her. Next up, we have Grassfur, who was born the same moon as his sister Sleek Skip, making him the second oldest of all of the Crooked Dark kits. He was apprenticed at Bristle Spots, and he spent his entire apprenticeship comparing himself to his sister. She seemed to have all of the big achievements before him. She seemed to be doing better, had better fighting skills, and he kind of suffered confidence-wise. But on his first patrol, he ran up to an herb he thought he recognized that he thought the medicine cats would need, and right before he picked it, Bristlespot stopped him because it was deathberries, and then she took that opportunity to teach him about what herbs he can and cannot touch. But then, the moon that he got his warrior's name, Bristlespot, his mentor, gave him a pair of moth wings to don on his pelt to show that he stands out just as much as his sister does. That the next moon, Mudstar, seeing how smart and strong and caring this young warrior was, gave her her daughter to mentor. So Grasper got to mentor Model Paw. He did his, which made Sleek Skip so jealous. She ended up getting a apprentice later on, but she was just so jealous that he got one first, which really boosted his confidence that the leader wanted him to mentor her daughter. He did his best, he taught her everything he knew, and she turned out to be a great young warrior. I'm so proud of this boy, and I can't wait to see where the future takes him. Next up, we have Strikeback. He is the oldest of the Crooked Dark second litter of kits, 19 moon, careful, and has a strong connection to Starclan. He was apprenticed under Halfer, and most of their patrols went across fine, except most of them were him and Halfer trying to decipher visions he had in his sleep the previous night. He doesn't understand why StarClan is so determined to tell him something, and he can't seem to decipher what StarClan is trying to tell him, and he can see dead cats. So if there's not a cat in StarClan and just wandering around the mortal plane, he can see them. So he's constantly teased for talking to things that aren't really there. I also forgot to mention that on his first patrol, he saw a rabbit acting strange, and when he caught it, Halfer looked concerned. Yes, this was a pet rabbit that someone let go. That's why it's not brown. But other than that, he's very overprotective of his siblings. He wants to make sure they're safe. He is constantly telling the kits and the apprentices what to do and how to behave. I think he'd make a good dad someday, but as of right now, he doesn't have any crushes. Next up, we have Vixen Belly. She is a great fighter, but she's also very nervous. I'm also evil because I made her a germaphobe. She's not to the extent where she can't leave the camp or anything. It's blood is the main thing that gets her, or spit, any kind of bodily fluids, but anything really. She's always walking around on edge. She was apprenticed under Hairblade. He tried to help her through her fears. She caught a rabbit, right? It was acting strange. Hairblade said it was fine, and it poisoned half the clan. And that just solidified her fear that the world is dangerous. There's unseen things that can hurt you. Her first patrol was really funny because she got the prompt of, oh, she found suspicious paw prints. And it did lead to a rogue, but in the drawing and how I see it, she was too focused on where the paw prints led that she missed out on chasing the rogue altogether. But Vixen Belly is the type of cat where she's kind of righteous. She won't eat unless everyone else has eaten. She focuses on tending to the camp defenses, such as guarding the entrance, adding brambles to the nursery walls, reinforcing the camp walls. She spends most of her time with her siblings because they're the only one that seems to tolerate her fears and treat her with kindness. Next up, we have the Troublemaker of Fringeleaf. She is smart and shameless. She was apprenticed under Mudstar, and she gave Mudstar a run for her money. This chaotic ball of energy was out, always getting in trouble. She was on permanent elder's duty. It got so bad that Crooked Poppy had to visit her in her dreams and say, hey, knock it off or you won't become a warrior. And then Fringeleaf started to taking her responsibilities more seriously, but she still has that goofy side. She loves playing with kids. She loves even teasing the apprentices. She spends a lot of times with elders still because she's great having the permanent elder's duty. For being in trouble so many times, she's created a great bond with them. And the next up, we have the final kit of Dark Heather and Crooked Poppy with the strict and excellent speaker, Mosspatch. Mosspatch was apprenticed under his father, and on their first patrol out, Mosspatch saw a rabbit that was acting kind of strange, and Dark Heather stopped him from pursuing it because it looked sick. I have a theory that there is someone poisoning the rabbits in Lost Clan territory, and that is something that I'm going to have to pay attention to in the story later on. We'll see if it comes up, but the cats are going to be very wary about rabbits that are acting strange. But besides that, Moss Paw's apprenticeship went by pretty uneventfully. They did find a bunch of badger dens, but they ended up deciding not to patrol because Dark Heather's overprotectiveness started to reign through. Poor Moss Paw didn't get to go on quite as many adventures as his siblings did, but after his warrior ceremony, he instantly started having deputy goals, and I think out of all the Dark Crooked kids, I think he would be the best fit. Is he the one that I want to be? I'm not quite sure. I would root for a Sleek Star, but Moss Star also seems fun. But out of all of the Dark Crooked kids, he seems the most level-headed and responsible. That's why I think that Mudstar chose him to mentor young little Yellow Paw, but we'll get into her later. Next up, we are finally out of the Crooked Poppy and Dark Heather kids, and we are on to the Bristle Spot's Marigold Nut kids. Yes, I made it official. I added the code to make Marigold Nut their father. I just thought it fit. Maryfish is a spitting image of Marigold Nut, so it's canon now. But the clan and Bristles and the kids don't know. Bristlespot's never shared that information with the rest of the clan. But on to Maryfish. He was a pretty whiny kid, pretty noisy. He wanted to be the center of attention in the sense of he wanted to get everything his way. He was bossy. Maryfish was also apprenticed under Hairblade. That man was busy with apprentices this year. On his first apprentice outing, he and Hairblade caught the scent of a fox and tracked it down and chased her off the fox and her kits. So well done to them. Once he became a warrior, he kind of chilled out. He's very relaxed and lazy. He's still really playful and altruistic, but he doesn't try to sneak out of camp anymore. He just likes to hang out with his friends, and he loves giving kits badger rides. I think he just spends time in the nursery because it gets him out of doing work, though. Now we're on the 13-month-old, fantastic, careful hunter, Marshly. She was apprenticed under Sleek Skip. So Sleek Skip didn't have an apprentice for 2 moons while her brother did, but she still wouldn't let Mudstar hear the end of it. Marshly, from the day she was born, was super sassy. She was bossy. She and her brother Maryfish spent times bickering about who got to be in charge. And Sandy Pelt, he just sat there and let them do it. On her first patrol, she caught a squirrel, which, fantastic. But on a different patrol is when they found, so she was on patrol with Sleek Skip when they found Blufftail and his kid. There isn't a lot to say. She spends a lot of her time sunning herself. She spends an extra mental amount grooming. She caught a huge rabbit after earning her warrior name, but she does have a slight crush on someone, and his name is Grassfur. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. I'm rooting for them. But moving on to the next cat. So now we're on to Timberbreeze and Mudstar's adopted daughter. Her kithood was pretty uneventful, except for this really cute moment where she was hiding under a bush from Grass Paw, but she couldn't stop giggling, so it gave it away. And then at one point she was pretending to be Hairblade, and then she was following cats around the camp, and I almost wonder if she was following her mother Mudstar around camp trying to get her attention. So her kithood was fine. It's really when we get into her apprenticeship that she becomes more of a problem. She was apprenticed under Grassfur, and her first patrol, her mentor went missing. After frantically searching for a few minutes, she finds him carrying loads of prey. So I decided, instead of having Grassfur hunt off without his apprentice, he went into a sketchy area and didn't return for a while. And then when he did, he had a bunch of two-leg foods that he stole from a butcher shop or something. I'm not sure. So they had a great bonding moment then. Then here's where we get into the big stuff. Model Shadow, Model Paw at the time kept thinking that they were going crazy. No matter what they did, they felt like a disappointment. They felt like they didn't belong. They were rethinking their life choices. So looking at the relationship bars, she also doesn't like her mom, Mudstar. I think she holds the way her mother treated her against her, which, valid. But what really gets me is when they announced that she was going to have siblings, Model Shadow freaked. There's something in her that just snapped, and she threw a fit and stormed out of camp. Her last moon, when they announced that they were having kits, was she's feeling unappreciated, and she went on a patrol, and all they did was sun themselves, didn't get anything done. So I think in protest, she's neglecting her duties as a warrior. But hopefully she chills out and everything smooths over. Excited for the drama, but I'm also like, please, 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 please be happy. Next up, we have the 115 moon old, formerly a loner, loving Onyx. She joined towards the end of the year, and if you guys are wondering, I don't know if I mentioned this before, why they still have the formerly loner and whatnot trait, because this recording is so old that I had to, one, redraw the art, and two, this is such an old version of the game. Next year will be all updated, it'll be fine. But back to Onyx. She didn't do much this year. She spent a lot of time in the med den. She helped reinforce the nursery wall. She was pretty much just feeling content in her new life, and I can't wait to see what this blank slate holds. Next up, we have Hairblade, the 111 moon old, formerly kitty pet, altruistic little guy. He, despite Mudstar hating his guts, is an amazing warrior. He got 3 apprentices this year, I think. He always is volunteering for extra patrols. He stands up for half fur when something big is revealed about her. He's awesome with the kids, constantly playing with them. I don't know, this guy is just a really cool dude. I don't understand why Mudstar has something against him. But I kind of hope he gets a family someday, because he seems like he'd be a pretty good dad, but that might not be in the works. He doesn't have any crushes or has shown any interest in anybody, really. First in the Elder's Den, we have Puddlebur, who joined pretty late in the year, so there's not a lot to say about the Elders. Honestly, the most exciting thing to say is that he is mates with Sunfoot, who is our other new face elder. But Puddlebur is a formal kitty pet, and I think he left his 2 legs because he wanted a sense of adventure. He's getting old, and sitting in the same spot every day which wasn't for him. So when he decided to leave, he begged, he pleaded for Sunny to come with him, and she refused, saying she liked her comfortable life. And then after 3 moons of not seeing him, she got worried and decided that the comfortable life wasn't a life worth living without him. So she went to the clans and tried to persuade him to come back, but he said no, and she should try giving clan life a try. So on the last moon, she joined, and I will say that there are a couple cats that are very weirded out by them because they are strange old people. You know those old people that think they are hip but they're not? That's who these are. They think they know, but they don't. Sunny regrets leaving her 2 legs behind because she truly did love them. But she is loving clan life just as much as her old kitty pet life and doesn't miss it that much. She loves just being with Puddlebur, and I hope these 2 don't adopt kids. I think they're past the age of where they can, because he is 136 moons and she's 128, which, you know, normally that's like, I doubt that they're gonna have kids. But on to the next and final elder. The final cat in the Elder's Den is Branch Knight. She's 125 moons old. She's still confident, great hunter. This poor cat, she was thinking about how too many cats die young. She had a nightmare about a rushing river. She's worried others are judging her. I think it's really cute. Branch Knight knows without a doubt that the clan leader must respect them, and that hit deep because I'm like, oh, she was just feeling so useless. And then I don't know what Mudstar did, but I'm sure Mudstar asked for advice on something, and that just lit Branch Knight up. After that, she was telling tall tales to cats who would listen, and I am loving that she's just having a comfortable life in the Elder's Den. I'm sure she loves having the 2 new friends to keep her company because last year it was just her in there. But yeah, there's not too much to say about the elders. I feel bad. It's the same with elders and kids. But we'll move on to the apprentice den. Now we're on to our apprentices finally. All of these guys are fresh, and I'm going to be saying who their mentors are as we get there. But first up, we have Suot Paw, who is patient, and his mentor is his mother, Halfer. That's right. In the Leaf Falls, Halfer gives birth to 2 kits, and the clan is divided whether she should be demoted because it's rumors that they're half clan kits. We don't know if they're half clan kits, but so Mudstar is letting it ride out for a little bit, trying to figure out what to do. It's been 6 moons and there's only a select few cats that are upset by it still, Model Shadow being one of them, but she's not holding the decision against Halfer, she's holding it against her mother Mudstar, but that's not who I'm talking about. Let's get into Suot Paw. Suot Paw was a pretty easygoing kit. He was constantly caught humming to himself. At one point, he was pretending to be Timber Breeze, which I thought was really cute. He is quite mature and wishes all the other cats would stop babying him. And for his first patrol, who he's mentored to his mother, Halfer, which I should have changed, but I forgot to, but oh well. But on their first patrol, he admits he had a vision from Starclan, and the patrol, he and his mother talk through it, and she recommends he goes and talks to Strikeback, who has a very strong connection to Starclan. There's not too much to say about this guy, other than he's a good boy, and we're moving on to his brother. So, Gor Paw has always been a little bit more prickly than his brother, being jealous of the younger kits when he was born, having an attitude with the older warriors. A really sweet thing he wanted when he was a kit was he wanted to learn more about Crooked Poppy, which is just really sweet. He's apprenticed to Jessica, which kind of makes him uncomfortable because accused of being an outsider made him very sour towards outsiders or those who he deems are outsiders, and Jessica being a formal loner, he was kind of upset. And then on his first patrol, when they met a kitty pet and Jessica invited the kitty pet to join, he was irritated because he thinks that she's muddying up the clan with non-clan blood. But hopefully he gets over himself and learns to love everybody. Also, I really wish I would have aged him up before I did his design because his adult design is so pretty, but the design I gave him does not do it justice. I'm sad. Next up, we have the Bluff Marsh kits, and first up we have Rowan Paw, who started out very go go go. He was bossing around his siblings and he was mastering a battle move he was performing incorrectly, but then somewhere along the lines he started feeling a sense of dread and he wanted to snuggle, didn't want to grow up yet, and then his apprenticeship started, and then bro was confronted by a gang of rogues. Luckily, he and his mentor Hairblade were able to chase him off without a problem. But yeah, other than that, there's not much to say. I really like this guy's design. On to the next one. Next up, we have the charming Bor Paw. This guy is such a sweet talker. He can talk his way out of almost any situation. When he was a kid, he spent most of his time being babied and cuddling up to his parents. But when he started his apprenticeship, a lot of this stuff changed. Like, the first thing that popped up was he feels a sense of dread, which, bro, why are you and your brother both feeling senses of dread? Can we not do that? Thank you. And then he was worried that others were judging him. So on his first patrol, Bor Paw noticed some suspicious paw prints on the ground, and Strikeback told him to ignore them because there was just the 2 of them and they didn't know how many cats were there. Bor Paw pursued it anyway and chased a rogue off the territory, and Strikeback watched annoyed as his apprentice completely disregarded his word. So I hope this boy learns to respect authority a little bit, but respect my Strikeback, please. But yeah, again, there's not much to say. Only 6 moons have gone by. They don't do much when they're kids. So I'm looking forward to their adult lives. Next up is the vengeful Suot Paw. He has been grumpy since birth. You know, sticking his tongue out at Sandy Pell, commenting on how awful kitty pet food must taste, basking in the sun. He was given to Model Shadow to apprentice, and on their first night out, that they found a nice spot to sun themselves, where they just gossiped. Model Shadow shared her dislike for their leader with him, and he has adopted those feelings. But he is also one of the cats spreading the rumors about Half Fur. He feels that his mentor deserves the role as deputy more than her, especially since the deputy broke the clan rules. So I hope he learns to loosen up, and I'm worried that Model Shadow is going to screw up his worldview a little bit with her anti-mom tirade she's on right now. Let's move on to the final Marsh Bluff kit. So next up, we have the faithful Light Paw. She's apprenticed to Mudstar, and let me tell you, Mudstar almost regrets this decision. She's like Fringe Leaf all over again, bouncing off the walls, not really listening, doing whatever she wants, but in a more friendly, chaotic way than Fringe Leaf was doing it to disobey. Lightpaw just doesn't realize she's disobeying. Their first patrol, she invited a kitty pet to join, and he didn't join. But I almost wonder if she was too enthusiastic about it, and then hearing Mudstar yelling at her frightened him off. Also, the kitty pet that we met was named Jirachi, so I gave him a little bit of a Pokeball on his collar, but that's sidetracked. Other than that, Lightpaw has been caught humming to herself. She plays Moss Ball with Freeze Kit, and she was like talking excitedly with Freeze Kit about how cool their clan deputy is, which like, yay. But on to our final apprentice. And finally, we have the calm Yellow Paw. Yes, Hairblade, her adopted father, named her after the illness she had. She, besides like being calm when she was a kid, she was a whirlwind. She was running around the camp, she was playing Moss Ball, she was practicing moves, and then she was sharpening her claws, but I digress. On her first outgoing with Moss Pad, they didn't really get anything done other than having a wonderful talk. Yellow Paw came out to him about her feelings with Light Paw. She really likes her, but is scared the clan won't accept her for liking another she-cat, even though there's already other lesbians, but we digress. Mosspatch reassured her. He even told her about how his dads were gay and that how that has impacted his life. The clan will accept her no matter who she loves, and she left this patrol feeling a lot better. And finally, welcome to the nursery. If you were wondering where Brussels Spots was, here she is. And if you're wondering why she has a queen body, she's supposed to be trans, but when I recoded the clans into the new files, I totally forgot that she was supposed to be a trans female and not just female. So I'll leave it up to you guys whether we make her biologically female or we keep her trans. I'll put up a poll. But anyway, moving on to the silly little flight kit. He was born 4 moons ago. He's supposed to be quiet. His 4 statuses are he was born, and he spent the day in the medicine den, so I think he was born weak. And then the other 2 are he was annoying older cats, so I think he was following his siblings around trying to copy what they were doing, especially Sandy Pelt, who's the med cat, and he was just getting all up in his way. Bristle Spot's year was quite eventful. She technically had 2 litters this year because I played a little bit into year 3. Oops. I'll fix it. But besides that, she was wondering if she was a good swimmer, and then Copper Blossom had a omen about a rushing river, so she decided not to go swimming. Outside of having kits, she spent a lot of time with Dark Heather and Jessica, surprisingly. But other than that, there's not too much to say about her because she spent most of her time in the nursery. But one thing so this is her second litter of kits that have outsider roots, and I wonder who is the father? Do we think it's a half clan? Do we think it's a rogue, kitty pet? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Moving on to the second litter of the Marsh Bluff kits, we're starting off with the 5-moon-old Bossy Cypress kit, and I love this litter of these little girls. They're all really cute. It's hard to pick a favorite. Cypress kit was born feeling underappreciated, but then on 2 separate occasions was hiding under a bush, couldn't stop giggling, once from Jessica, once from Bor Paw. She rolled on the ground a few times, and then she was asking older cats how kits were made. She's an interesting little girl. I love her design. I can't wait to see her in the future. Moving on to the middle child, the 5-moon-old charming Cinder kit. She was crazy when she was born because she was born and then she was rethinking her life choices. This girl must be a ball of anxiety. Other than that, she tried to purr her way out of trouble with the medicine cats. She wished other cats would stop babying them, and then she feels a sense of dread and nervous for her apprentice ceremony, so I wonder what's going on with her. And then finally, we have the polite freeze kit. She, like her sisters, is nervous about her apprentice ceremony. She was crying after roughhousing with older cats. She almost choked on her prey a few times, which was kind of concerning. But I just want to point out that these girls kind of remind me of the Powerpuff Girls, with Freeze Kit being Blossom, Cinder being Bubbles, and Cypress being Buttercup. I don't know. I think it's cute. I think it lines up almost perfectly. But I can't wait for these two to grow up. On to the final litter in the nursery. Starting with the 5-moon-old charming Rowan Kit, whose name I think I'm going to change. I want to leave it up to you guys, so I think I'll put a community tab up, or you can leave suggestions in the comments below. But Rowan Kit was a very rowdy kit. She was pretending to ward foxes with Gor Kit. She was playing Moss Ball with Lotus Kit. She tried to sneak out of camp. But there's not a lot to say about kits, so I feel bad that I don't get a lot. But let's talk about how I was blessed to have 2 calico kits be born. Oh man, I'm so excited for these 2. Oh, another thing is I wanted to ask you, who do you think should have given birth to these kits, Jessica or Toke? I think I'm leaning towards Toke, but let me know what you think in the comments. And our final cat is Rowan Kit's sister, Lotus Kit, who I forgot to write the suffix kit on the drawing. Oops. So Lotus Kit is polite and very playful. She's curious about the other clans. She spends a lot of her time with her sisters and the other kits. I'm just super excited to see where they go from here and their lives and their futures. While the speed paint finishes, I was going to do a little sneak peek into the other clans, but this video is too long for that. So I'll do a little side video that hopefully remains under 20 minutes about the side clans, which should be coming up soon. And then I'm going to try to post a Lost Clan update once a month. We'll see. There's a lot of cats to draw, and I'm going to try and keep a limited number of cats. So if there's too many cats, I might do some death generators, some random event generators. A lot of the way that I plan to do Lost Clan is inspired by Nyoko Arts. She inspired my first video. I'll have her tagged down below. You should really check out her stuff if you haven't already. But with that, I think we're done. Here's all of Lost Clan. I think next year I'm going to try to do more little snapshots like I did for the apprentices. I might do more throughout the year. We'll see. This was a lot of work. This video is, a year in the making, if not longer, almost 2, I think. I didn't even write a script. I feel bad. I just had to read off my notes and ramble and cut it down. I could not write a script. A lot in my life happened, and that gave me burnout when it came to this script. But I really wanted to make this video. I know the next video will be more organized, will be better thought out, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I enjoy it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!